If we were asked to construct a sine graph using only a ruler, compass and a protractor, i.e. without a calculator or tables, we can draw a unit circle and the graph side by side as shown. So remember, we let east be 0 degrees, so this would be 0 degrees on our unit circle, and we move anti-clockwise. So 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, 150 degrees, 180 degrees, and so on, down as far as 270 degrees and back up to 360 degrees. So using a protractor, we can indicate the point on the unit circle which corresponds to an angle of 30 degrees. So this is our angle of 30 degrees, and this is the point on the circle which corresponds to the angle of 30 degrees. Then drawing a horizontal line from this point, we can mark a point on the same level above 30 degrees on the graph. So take our ruler, we draw a line across, and when we get to 30 degrees on our x-axis, we plot a point. By repeating this process for many different angles, we obtain a number of points on the graph. Joining up these points, we obtain the standard sine graph. So for example, we go up to 60 degrees, plot that point on the unit circle, and then draw a line across until we line up with 60 degrees on our x-axis and plot another point. Then we would go up as far as 90 degrees, plot that point on the unit circle, and then draw a line across until we match up with 90 degrees on our x-axis and plot a point. Then we would continue around to 120 degrees, plot that point on the unit circle, and draw a line across until we get to that point. That matches up with 120 degrees on our x-axis, plot that point. Continue along the unit circle until we get to 150 degrees, plot that point on the circle. Then draw a line across until we match up with 150 degrees on our x-axis and plot that point. Then continue around to 180 degrees, plot that point on the unit circle, and then draw a straight line across to match up with 180 degrees on our x-axis. We'll continue this process, plotting all the points of y equals sine of x up as far as 360 degrees, and then we join our points together. So alternatively, you could break your unit circle up into 8 sectors, each with an angle of 45 degrees. So starting again in the east, we have 0 degrees, moving anti-clockwise 45 degrees, moving anti-clockwise 90 degrees, moving anti-clockwise 135 degrees, 180 degrees, 225 degrees, 270 degrees, 315 degrees, and back to 360 degrees. If we have a look at our graph, we have 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. So the midpoint between 0 and 90 will be 45 degrees. The midpoint between 90 and 180 will be 135. The midpoint between 180 and 270 will be 225. And the midpoint between 270 and 360 degrees will be 315 degrees. So we start at 0, 0, plot our point. Then we go to 45 degrees on our unit circle. And we're going to draw a line straight across until we match up with 45 on our x-axis on our graph. So we have 45 degrees on our unit circle, and we move across till we match up with 45 degrees on our x-axis, and we plot our point. Next we draw a line across from 90 degrees. So we draw a line across from 90 degrees on our unit circle till we match up with 90 degrees on our x-axis, and we plot a point. Next we draw a line across from 135 degrees, but we see that it actually matches up with our 45 degree line. So we keep going across that line until we match up with 135 degrees and plot a point. Next we have 180 degrees, and we see that that matches up with our actual x-axis, so we go across 180 degrees in our x-axis and plot a point. Next we have 225 degrees, so again we draw a straight line across from 225 degrees. So we go across from 225 degrees in our unit circle till we match up with 225 degrees on our x-axis. Then we go to 270 degrees, and again we draw a straight line across. So from 270 degrees we draw a straight line across until we get to 270 degrees on our x-axis, and we plot a point. Then we move up to 315 degrees, which matches up with 225 degrees, so we don't need to draw another line. And we move across our line until we match up with 315 degrees and plot a point. And then we move up the unit circle back to 0, which is also 360 degrees, and we know that that matches up with the x-axis. So we go to 360 degrees and we plot a point. Now we have plotted all our points for our graph of y equals sine of x from 0 to 360 degrees. Now we join them up with a curve. And here we have the graph of y equals sine of x.